Yeah, sure.
Or like change the rule of the game and put in more like hypotheticals that always throw me off?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's two variations on this. One is, of course, the typical just general if local question where they're further restricting the possibilities. When you have that, the ideal is to just draw a new hypothetical, draw a new scenario, incorporate. No, you're going to use the rules also. You're going to use the rules plus the if limitation. So if they say something like, if x is third, comma, then what must be true? You put x on 3, and then you take your other rules. Maybe the other rule said something like, the fourth slot cannot be either A or B. So if the fourth slot can't be A or B, and it's obviously not X, what does that leave? It might leave something like C, D, or Y, let's say. So you take the X plus the previous rule, and you combine it to make an inference. So that's I think, what most typically happens with new restrictions, new possibilities. Exactly. Apply it and combine it with the rule. Then the more rare limitation you see is when they maybe add a new rule to the constraints of the game, or they subtract a rule from the constraints of the game. This has kind of fallen out of favor with LSAT in favor of the rule substitution questions, but since that Birds in the Forest game from test 33 is a little bit on the older side, you'll actually see the final question of that game has a rule addition question where they add a new constraint to the game overall. And so you then take that new constraint and combine it with your main diagram to derive new inferences. And then on the flip side, test 36 game 1, they did a rule subtraction question as the final question of the game where they remove a constraint, which of course again changes the possibilities. So your previous main diagram is no longer fully valid because you have to consider the new constraint they've added or subtracted as well. And of course that could affect any inferences you may have derived at the outset. So you just have to consider that as well. But those aren't coming up as much anymore. Now you just have the rule substitution questions, again, from exam 57 all the way up to present, appearing almost every single exam. So that's about 30 questions to practice on. So there's plenty of opportunity to get better at those.